What's up, guys? It's Drew from Drew and Him Plays, and we're here with Michael Melvin, who finished 12th at the Richmond Regionals.
Yep, for the second time.
The second time. And what were you playing today?
I was playing Exosister.
Alright, let's get into the profile.
So, for the past while, I've been on branded, but during playtesting, I just did not think branded, even though it gets played Bestials during this format, had a favorable matchup into the meta, just because it's easily destructible because your hand rely on Brain Fusion or Luber resolving, and if they have a shuffler or something like that, you're often toast, depending on what line you have. So yeah, I ended up playing this. So we of course have very standard Exo ratios. With Martha, she is best card in the deck. She is the only one card that exceeds. And the card you have to summon off her. Alice, second best card in the deck because she's an extender just by having another Exo body on board. So it is very unfortunate that she has to summon that and she can't summon anything else. But the way the card's designed, it's designed to be that way, so you can use things like packs and that is with Martha, but it is what it is. Then Stella, our other 3 of, the other extender, she can summon 1 from hand, so that's really nice. Sophia, our draw 1, and then the lesbian pair, Sophia Irene. She is the worst card in the deck, but I did actually use her effect a couple of times at the regional. Her effect is kind of like Sophia's, but you have to reveal an Exo to put on bottom deck and draw 1. It does put back on bottom for cost, so it gets imperm rash. You're hurting. And then the reason this deck's viable in format is Way Shifter.
Well, last format. About to get new ban list?
Yeah.
But yeah, for the time, shit to be crazy.
Yeah, this was full power tier format for reference. This is not cash tier format or cash format. And then to Ash, I get this is weird, but I wanted something that could answer things like Brain Diffusion in the main. But in test hands, even if it's not mathematically correct, I was seeing it too often for my taste, so I cut it down to 2 in the main. And it was between that or Exosister Vadis, and I'd rather have 3 of a pseudo starter than 2 of an interruption. Then we played 2 Dark Ruler. Honestly, I'm not sure if I should have played this card at 3. It felt like every time this card resolved, it was just super good. But I only played against tier 1, so I'm not sure of whether this would have been super favorable in tier. And then 2 Necro Valley and 1 Terraforming. This is reason for this ratio is so that you can side to Zombie World for flu, but otherwise you have this in the main because it dunks on pretty much everything.
Is the flu matchup hard?
Huh?
Is the flu matchup hard?
I mean, I want it. Like, I can't play into their board because Bear Statue, rest in piss.
Yep.
Just makes the deck unplayable if you don't see something like Dark Ruler Imperm, but you have enough going and Interruption going first to where you can hold them off of something like Imperm. If you draw well, of course. And then 3 Prosperity for consistency, and then to the Exo spells, 1 Ornament. This card was actually really clutch. Essentially, this lets you exceed using any one of your Exosister monsters that is not currently on the field on your opponent's turn. You can use it on your turn if they have some from the graveyard, but that actually rarely happens. Maybe happened like once. Sorry, stuffy.
That's fine.
3 packs. This is both a searcher for any card in your deck and an E-tally for your monsters if you have the lesbian pair on the field or in the grave. Really good card. 3 Returnia. This is your banish. Target 1 to banish, and then if you meet the requirements, you can either exceed using Exos you control, or if you use exceed this turn, banish another card not targeting. Really good. 3 Vadis. It summons 2 from deck. They do have to have the matching pair, so it's either you do Irene and Sophia, Alice and Stella, or Alice and Martha. If you start right now the materials, and this card ends up dead because I have no way to recycle. So like some people have experimented with the Shizu Exosister, but I just wanted to keep it simple, stupid. But basically, anytime your opponent tries to move a card out of the grave, you activate this, summon 2, and then you exceed twice. It actually went off a lot. And we have 3 Imperm, 4 in the hand trap, and then 3 evenly in the main.
Ooh, that's spicy.
The funny thing is, it's actually not. This was actually pretty standard for Exosister list. So like, I ended up net decking this off of like several people where they liked evenly in the main because the deck has a lot of trouble going second. Like it's not too terrible, but you don't. The engine itself doesn't break boards. You can see like all these women are tiny. So if you're not being able to play into things where you can either exceed off their fats, or you just have a lot of extension where you can exceed into something like Decklists and start breaking boards, you need something to assist with that. And evenly is pretty decent, although I'm not sure how often this helped me at the regional. I know I have played it a few times, but I don't remember it being super crazy. But I think I ended up liking Dark Ruler more. But that is the main deck. Exactly 40 cards. Very consistent list, so it did what it needed to do for 3 rounds. Only bred a couple of times. Then for the extra deck, we have 3 Decklists, absolute best card in the deck. I almost got outgrinded in a game of Scareclaw because I banished one of these off Prosperity, because when I was banishing blind for Prosperity, I would often banish this and keep 2 of the Exosister, which is the Abyss Dweller. Thankfully, my opponent scooped when I had 1 card left in the extra deck. But searches spells and traps, banishes a card turn she is summoned. She is just an absolutely fantastic concede. This is your monster searcher. She mandatory effect on summon. Neither player can special summon a card from the grave for the rest of the turn. And then detach material to search next to the monster. Really good for making Magnifica, because if you started with either 2 names or started with Martha and 1 name, you can make this, search whatever you need for extension, then make Magnifica, or just in general search for follow up. Another really good card, but typically not one you're typically playing during your opponent's turn unless you're doing everything. The card that really made this deck work during the format, Sophia. She is a mandatory Abyss Dweller on Sun. Is exact same wording pretty much, except that it's just a trigger effect. When she's summoned, neither player can activate card effects in the grave for the rest of the turn. I guess it's not Abyss Dweller because it's both players, not just your opponent. But then she also has a detach ignition effect to bounce a monster on field back to hand.
That's crazy.
Good. This is Jabreen. Initially, I underrated this card, but it actually started coming up a lot during the regional. She is a detached one to give your exceeds, all of them, for the rest of the turn, no matter if they were on board before she was summoned, or if they came on board after she was summoned. Give them 800 attack. It's a lot that lets you kill very easily. In turn she is summoned, she is basic infinite permanence, target a monster, and then negate its effects. Actually, really good card, but you only need it 1. She is inherently very tiny. She's 14 base attack, but she has a big butt at 28 defense, and then with her effect she's at 28. And then the other really good exceed, Magnifica, with the max based on. She is a non-target quick effect banish, and then if your opponent activates a card effect, you can return 1 of her exceed materials that you own. technically, in case that ever came up. To the extra deck, and then summon it on top first, so you can, typically you're either doing Decklists, or if you were able to set it up, Sophiel. And then you have another either banish, or you have a quick bet dweller on your opponent's turn, just anytime they activate quick bet, or you just banish twice. And she also just, because she is 2 people, gets to attack twice. It's really nice. And then a card that came up a few times. The strongest memory I have of summoning this card, I actually lost. Because I was playing into Sprite with Fenrir's, either inside or main, and the only way I had to break his board was summon Zeus and immediately use that with 2 mats, and he just summoned Fenrir and got over it, and I had no way back in the game, because Fenrir does dunk on this deck, because you have to have either Martha, an extender, or pretty much 3 monsters in hand and a prayer, because Fenrir makes it very hard to get into your Exceeds. And then the cards I pretty much never used. I maybe some the Guska once. I did this as a way to recycle. This was for time. Never went into time, thankfully, because all your spells and traps require you to pay 800 life, but because this deck is so simple, you can play it really fast. It's another reason I liked it, is that with Branded, I kept going into time, so I was hiding inside a time card. I didn't like doing that. And then this should have been the Code Breaker linked to, the one with 2300 attack. If I had had that, I would have been able to get over a Baguska like a turn earlier, but I ended up winning that game, so it didn't really matter. But these always got banished on Prosperity, and then if I was going for 6, it was probably Zeus, and then, as I said, I Nicholas if I was going in blind, so I had 2 for tier, or if I knew I wasn't going against Hero, banish these stuff, you know. Side deck, Carpe Divum. This card is Prohibition whenever you exceed summon. It also has a spell and trap removal effect, but I'm not sure if that would have ever come up because I did not use it, and I'm not sure if I just forgot it. And then 2 Sphere Mode as another board breaker. Never came up because when I was against Flu, I had Zombie World on field, and this still counts as a tribute summon, so I was not able to summon it. So I saw this in my hand a few times, never summoned it. But you can't use something like Lava Golem to break boards because it special summons and it locks you out of Martha. So this is like the only board breaker you can summon and still use Martha, because this is a normal summon, not a special summon. It's like the really bad thing about Martha is the fact that she simply has many restrictions on her, unlike tier lead cards. Then the last Ash, in case I was going second, just the hand trap. It did go in a few times, so spell trap removal, 2 Cosmic, 1 Duster. I think Duster did help, but I didn't go against 2 Decker decks. The 2 Zombie Worlds for Flu, D-Barrier, maybe came up a couple of times, but if I was signed in, I didn't really see it that often. Maybe activate it once or twice. Then anti-spell, this won me a game for sure against Carapaw of all things, because I was able to keep them off the bench. But lastly, I actually have all my matchups.
How many rounds?
It was a 9-rounder. It was 300 people. It was not 300 at the start. The staffing got enough people to register late so that we would have 300, because initially it was going to be top 32 for invites, but we got exactly 300, so we were able to have the 48 invites. 2 out of Dragon Slayer as round 1. Thankfully, one of my playtesting buddies was playing against Dragon Slayer, so I knew he was not that good of a pilot. He was playing it really slow, and the end boards he was making felt really weird for what he was going through, and also blind, he was making a bit slower, so that was really good for me. It's just a big card on his board. And then next round, I 2-1 Castria. As I said, Fenrir's a good card, but if I was able, I think I probably lost die roll, beat him game 1, and then I started siding going first cards, and then he makes me go first and I lose. No, that happened twice. Where I think it was the next round, which was Drexler, which was my first loss, where they make me go first, where I start bringing in going first cards and I lose. So, yeah, next round was against Drexler, lost that one 1-2, made a horrific misplay where I had a Runner anti-spell, but I was supposed to banish his 2 back rows, and I just didn't think of a quick way to do it efficiently, even though I had the answer to both those, and then he just flipped up Lightning Storm, and I lost. So, I'll just say that it put me onto the easy bracket for the rest of the day. I 2-0'd for 2-1 to a for one Reese player. I don't have any notes about that game anymore. And then I 2-1 to a Sprite player. I think it was either that one or a later game where I start making them go first when I lose game 1 and ended up working out. And then for round 6, at like round 6 at table, I think I was at actually table 12. I went against Crystal Beast.
Crystal Beast.
Yeah.
How was that?
I 2-0'd him because he's primarily like a Pokemon or Digimon player, but he wanted something to play with his friends so he could come along, so he picked up Crystal Beast and was apparently doing really well.
Yeah, confidence control.
But I just had the answers for everything. Like, there's one time where he had 2 of the new, like, Zenith Dragons or whatever, the one that's not, the Crystal Dragon that's not Ultimate Crystal or whatever. He had like 2 of those, and I impermed column 1, and then I banished the other so he couldn't activate either. So that was me. And then next round, round 7, I finally go against Tier. He loses game 1 to a deck check, and then I immediately lose the next game, and then when we actually get to side, I win. Nothing too much for comment on that game.
But he got deck check?
He got deck check.
Oh, deck check.
He had, like, his slip by the end of the match was just completely covered in red.
Oh, dear.
Because it was like, even after he got deck checked and received game loss for that, another judge came up and it was like pointed to his like Korean cards or whatever that were in his calculator case, and it's like, now you're getting a warning for that because that's an illegal game piece on the table. So, respect deck checks, and that's all I have to say. And then for round 8, I went against Sprite again. That time I lost. Not sure if there was really anything I could do about that. That's the game, I'm pretty sure, where I summoned Zeus. And then both Fenrir control. And then round 9, that is where I faced Scared Claw. That one was a grind. We did not go in time, and I 2-1'd him, but it was close. That's where I learned that Scared Claw Tryhard is not a hard once per turn. It is a soft. You can summon it multiple times and use it its effect. That's scary.
I love Scared Claw.
But yeah, that's I think everything I have from the regional report.
Yeah. You have any shout outs you want to do?
Shout out to Team Easy sponsoring me. Paid for my regional entry, and then also shout out to Team Blanche. You know who you are. That's who I drove up with, who I stayed at the hotel with, and thankfully I did not stay with them on the side of the road for 12 hours because they blew a tire. Gary, you should have come home with me. Instead, he got stuck for 12 hours and nearly died at a fish game store. They are watching.
Well, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, guys, and I promise we'll do clickbait videos. We just been busy, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.